long before deserts became lifeless and silent, and long before sand swallowed entire kingdoms. There existed a vast and radiant civilization known as the Dune Walkers. Today the desert seems empty, stretching endlessly under the burning sun. But thousands of years ago it was the heart of a thriving empire that mastered both sand and starlight. Their origins begin with a wandering tribe led by a woman named Sarai, who refused to accept that the desert was a place of death, while others feared the great shifting dunes. Sarai believed the desert hid secrets older than mountains. She claimed the dunes whispered when the wind was right, and she followed those whispers deeper into the endless gold. One night, during a violent sandstorm that tore tents from the earth and buried entire caravans alive, Sarai heard a strange humming beneath her feet, a low, pulsing vibration. She knelt, pushed aside layers of sand, and found a glowing shard of glass as smooth as water and warm as a heartbeat. This was the first piece of star sand, a mysterious material that formed only when lightning struck the dunes at the perfect angle. When Sarai touched it, the shard vibrated like a tuning fork, and the storm above her suddenly weakened, bending around her instead of crushing her. Sarai took this as a sign. Days later, she used the shard to carve the first desert shelter, shaping the sand into solid walls that hardened like stone under moonlight. Her people followed her deeper into the desert, discovering more star sand deposits buried beneath ancient dunes. With each shard they collected, they learned to shape sand into towers, bridges, tools, and shimmering plates of glass that caught the sunlight and glowed at night. What began as a wandering tribe soon built the first shimmering settlement, Namarai, the city of singing dunes. Over generations, Namarai expanded into a marvel unmatched by any kingdom of its time. Towers carved from fused sand rose hundreds of feet, bending like flowing cloth. Streets were paved with smooth, golden stone that never burned bare feet. Canals cut through the city carried cool underground water, guided by sand-carved tunnels that twisted beneath the desert. At night, the entire city glowed faintly as star sand structures absorbed daylight and released it, slowly, giving the impression that the city breathed light. The Dune Walkers trained artisans known as the glassbinders, who could heat sand with focused sunlight using enormous mirrored discs, shaping molten glass into blades, masks, and even flexible armor. They crafted desert ships, large, curved vessels mounted on polished runners that skimmed over dunes like boats over waves, pushed forward by canvas wings that caught the hot desert wind. They traveled incredible distances, mapping the shifting desert and establishing alliances with mountain tribes, oasis kingdoms, and coastal traders. Unlike other empires built on conquest, the Dune Walkers sought harmony with the desert. They believed the sands were alive, carrying the memories of the world. Their priests, the Whisper Keepers, spent years meditating in dune caves, listening to the shifting grains. They claimed to hear echoes of ancient worlds buried beneath the dunes, old oceans, lost forests, forgotten civilizations swallowed by sand. For centuries, the Dune Walkers prospered. Their capital expanded into a glowing labyrinth of towers and canals. Their sky observatories, built on desert plateaus, mapped the stars with exquisite precision. They could predict eclipses, sandstorms, and even the subtle movements of the desert itself. They recorded everything in sand scrolls, long sheets of star glass etched with writing visible only when illuminated by moonlight. But prosperity often births arrogance. A faction within the empire, led by a charismatic glassbinder named Corin, believed the Dune Walkers had grown too dependent on the desert's rhythm. Corin argued that star sand wasn't a gift, it was a tool, and tools were meant to be exploited. He dreamed of weapons powerful enough to melt dunes instantly, reshaping landscapes at will. Many whispered that he wished to make the desert obey him, to bend the land as Sarai once bent a storm. Corin's ideas were forbidden, but his influence spread quickly. A hidden group of glassbinders began experimenting deep beneath the city, heating star sand beyond natural limits, seeking something called the second light, a rumored energy hidden inside the hottest sands of the desert. Their secret experiments awakened something deep below, something ancient, something the Whisper Keepers had warned about for centuries: the Hollow Storm, a monstrous spiral of wind and sand said to sleep beneath the desert's heart. One night, the Hollow Storm awoke. A sound like 1,000 drums rolled beneath the dunes. Sand began to lift off the ground in great swirling columns. Buildings shimmered as their foundations weakened. The air grew thick, heavy, almost alive. The Whisper Keepers screamed warnings, but it was too late. A vortex of red sand erupted from the desert floor at the empire's center, rising like a serpent taller than any tower. It twisted violently, devouring entire streets, tearing star glass structures apart like paper. Namarai, the city that glowed like a captured sunrise, fell into chaos. Desert ships were sucked into the storm and shattered mid-air. Towers cracked and melted under the relentless heat. Channels of cool water boiled instantly. People fled toward the outer dunes, but the storm chased them like a predator, guided by the very experiments that had woken it. In its final hour, the remaining Whisper Keepers gathered atop the highest dune and attempted the forbidden chant, a ritual to put the hollow storm back to sleep. They poured all their life energy into it, chanting until their voices bled, their bodies turning brittle like dried clay. For a moment, it worked. The storm hesitated, slowed, twisted upon itself, but stopping it required a sacrifice no one foresaw. The Whisper Keepers themselves dissolved into sand, becoming part of the storm they sought to silence. The hollow storm fell quiet, then the dune swallowed everything. When dawn came, the grand empire of the Dune Walkers was gone. Towers, canals, libraries, everything was buried under a single vast plain of untouched sand. Travelers who later crossed the desert claimed they heard faint singing on windy nights, like glass humming deep beneath their feet. Others swore they saw towering shapes glowing beneath the dunes before vanishing again. Today the desert holds its secrets tightly. A few archaeologists have unearthed fragments of star glass, impossibly smooth and warm to the touch. Some find strange patterns etched into dune walls, symbols of a language no one can read. And some nomads whisper that the hollow storm still moves beneath the sand, searching for voices brave enough or foolish enough to wake it again. The Dune Walkers are gone, erased from the world, but the desert remembers, and sometimes, when the wind shifts just right, it whispers their name.